Hey guys, today's video is about the stigma attached to mental illness and bipolar disorder and the misconceptions about bipolar disorder. Stigma is probably one of the worst things that we feel being bipolar. A lot of people don't want to talk about bipolar disorder and they think you're weird if you talk about it to them. People don't typically ask questions, even if you mention it to them. You say, hey, I'm bipolar. No one, your friends or whatever, they're typically not going to ask, well, what does that mean? What is that like? How has your life been affected by that? They're not going to ask that because it's something that people don't talk about. They don't want to talk about it. Back in the day, years ago, when somebody had a mental illness like bipolar disorder or schizophrenia, they would be locked up in a hospital and left there to die. They would be given electric shock therapy, which, by the way, people still do. However, it's done in a completely different format. It's done, I think, under anesthesia. I'm not quite sure, but it's very, very, very low doses, and it does help a lot of people, but it's very controversial. People would be thrown in these hospitals and considered, just unrepairable. They didn't have medications. We didn't have the resources that we have nowadays. And a lot of people are against medication. There are a lot of religious organizations that are against medication. The stigma associated with bipolar disorder, if you have to take medication, well, ew, there must be something wrong with you. It's hard to have a mental illness, especially one like bipolar, because most people do not understand. I'm not going to say that everyone understands depression, anxiety, or schizophrenia, but it makes more sense to people. It's easier to understand, hey, that person hears voices. I get it. That must be hard. Which us who have bipolar disorder, we also hear voices sometimes. Many of us, when we go into psychosis, bipolar type 1, bipolar type 2, you don't usually go into psychosis. It's pretty rare if that were to ever happen, but you experience hypomania, which is a step right before somebody goes into full-blown psychosis if you're bipolar type 1. I have a video about the difference between bipolar type 1 and bipolar type 2, and I will put a link down below if you want to check that out. I did a lot of research for that one, even though I pretty much know. But sometimes it's hard to lay all these things out for you guys and make sure I do it the right way. I am pretty sure that my family thinks that because bipolar disorder is classified as a mood disorder, that some days I'm in a good mood and some days I'm in a bad mood. And sometimes I'm angry and sometimes I'm not. And sometimes I go completely off the rails, but I totally know what I'm doing. I'm totally still aware. They don't understand psychosis. They don't understand that we are not driving our own brain. We are completely locked in there somewhere, and we're not there. And then they also don't understand the memory loss. Memory loss is a huge, huge part of mania and psychosis. When your brain is moving so fast and you have 15 thoughts in your head, it's kind of like you have to grab certain ones out. And when you're in psychosis, you don't know which thoughts to grab, and you're typically paranoid, so you're going to grab the scariest ones. And when you have so much happening in your mind, according to my psychiatrist, because I did ask her, because I have enough PTSD, I asked her, am I going to have to relive some of these memories that have happened in the future? Because, I've been sexually assaulted. I have been beat up by other homeless people. I have been in a lot of really scary situations. Some that I have never told anyone that I just can't talk about. So these misconceptions that people have are very painful to the bipolar person or the person with the mental illness. And a lot of times they're misconstrued. People who go into psychosis with bipolar disorder have delusions of grandeur, which means they'll think they're God. They think they have superpowers. They'll think that their parents are famous people. They'll think that they know a secret to the universe that no one else knows. And for someone on the outside, it's very difficult to understand that. And I think that one thing that we need to do as bipolar individuals is understand others' mindset and just let it go. I got into it with an email with my stepmom, and she actually said to me in the email, well, whatever you remember or don't, whatever you say you remember or don't remember. And it was very insulting. It was very hurtful. And it was very ignorant of her to say. And like I've said in other videos, people who don't have anyone who has not been through this will not understand, period. You can't. You just can't. You don't know what it's like to lose your mind and not have control of your mind unless it's happened to you. But there are people who will accept you and understand that you are sick. I have a really amazing friend who has never judged me, who has never made me feel like less than. My husband makes me feel that way, like he understood. He's read books. He's been there for me. He's educated. My friend that I have that is completely never judged me is the only person I've ever met like that, outside of my husband. And so it's really, really difficult for people to be that way. And you may go your whole life not knowing someone like that, and that's okay. People are people. People are people, like. And someone that's judging us usually has more problems than us. We have a medical problem. And a lot of people are just stubborn and won't deal with their own issues. But yeah, while it is a mood disorder, and hypomania, for people who have bipolar disorder, is often said that it's not as severe as bipolar type 1. And it's often said that people like the feeling of mania, so they intentionally will not take their medication so that they can cram for a test or whatever. I never believed this. I think that when that happens, your brain is already not thinking logically. And I have a friend who's told me that they've done this before, trying to cram, so just didn't take her medication, stayed up all night. The thing about bipolar disorder type 2 in comparison to bipolar type 1 is people who typically have bipolar disorder type 2 experience a lot more depression and a lot more suicidal thoughts. People who experience bipolar type 1 put themselves in extremely dangerous situations and literally cannot function. It is not as disruptive to their life as someone with bipolar type 2 outside in terms of psychosis. When you go around feeling like you want to kill yourself, you're pretty much the only person you're affecting, because we wear masks. But when you're psychotic, everyone sees it. Everyone blames you for it if they don't understand. So what I do to try to deal with that, because it's been really, really hard. I've sat around thinking a lot about how my family has portrayed me or thought about me, or tried to connect my psychosis to my actual personality. To try to connect the way that I've acted and behaved, where I was having delusions of grandeur, where I was having psychosis, psychotic thoughts, where I was being mean and verbally abusive. They have attached that to my personality, and put labels on me and said things about me that were very hurtful. And what I'm learning to do, which I say a lot, is to ignore all that. I tried cutting everyone out of my life. I tried not detaching from my family, because to me that's sad. When you detach, you just really don't give a shit what they think about you or what they care, what they say about you. And that's where I am right now. I had to detach. I had to. And it wasn't until I realized that they will never accept me for who I am. They will never make an effort to understand even. They don't have to understand fully, but if your support system is not your support system, if your family, if your friends, that you feel like you're the only one in a sea of normalcy, you're the one thing that's broken. If you feel that way, you can find another support system. Like I said in another video, I found Instagram. If you guys want to follow me, it's one Reeve Finney. I'll put it down below this video. But if you can't find a support system within your family, friends, it is out there. You can go to groups. There are free groups that you can find. There are free resources out there. Maybe it's more difficult in other countries. I'm sure it is, because a lot of cultures do not accept bipolar disorder or other mental illnesses. It's still highly stigmatized. So yeah, I found support system. I went to an intensive outpatient therapy for 4 months from August to December. And I felt so much better because it didn't really give me any tools or any help to deal with my family. All the tools that they gave me wouldn't have worked. But it did help me because I was around other people that were like me and people that understood. And actually, some of us who have bipolar disorder, we enjoy going to the hospital because we get to be around people that are even more off than us, or people that are just like us. We have support for each other. That's not somewhere I would recommend going unless you felt like you were going into mania or hypomania or psychosis and you just couldn't handle it. If you're having suicidal thoughts or whatever, take yourself to a hospital and admit yourself. There is also the National Suicide Hotline is 988. You dial those 3 numbers, you will be able to talk to someone right away. You can also chat with them via the internet. It's completely anonymous, so you don't have to worry about being judged or anything like that. So if you need that resource, it's there for you. And if you are ever having suicidal thoughts or anything like that, you do need to get help from someone. They will talk to you. If you feel like harming yourself, they can help you get through that and talk to you about it. I've never called, but I do know people that have called, and it has helped them. So that's what I got for you today. I know this is kind of a long video, but I hope it was helpful. I hope you can understand stigma is stigma. It's always going to be there. It's never going to go away. People are never going to understand you, so don't even try to get them to. Just find your support system and the way that you can function in the world, because life is worth it. Okay, thanks guys, and stay healthy. I hope to see you soon. Bye. Oh, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for watching. Adios.